Good evening.
Hey, hey, what's going on?
God, look at you growing a little bit of facial hair there. Looking
Sick and
good.
tired of going on every show that I go on and everybody's got facial hair but me, so
There you go. Yeah.
well, I have this problem. I can't grow it right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just don't grow any facial hair right here. So I have to grow it there and shave the rest. So,
Hmm.
but yeah. So
Yeah.
where is your video tonight? You have no
Oh,
video,
whoa, whoa, hold on. Do I have? What is it?
Mr.
Oh, cut. There we go.
Mr. Mysterious
Now you
video.
should see me in the live feed.
Yep, sure do.
All right.
Cool.
Forgot to cut that over. Okay. All right. We got a few new people who entered this month, so that'll be interesting to go over those.
Nice.
And
Yeah, there
you
should be no issues with my Connect either,
you
Mister.
you look fantastic. I mean, you are super sharp.
That's because I'm paying a lot of money right now. So
So I'm my bandwidth right now looks fantastic. I'm only sending like 1 meg out, but I'm receiving, it must be all you, like 9 meg from you.
yeah, I don't know. Your video is like really like uh pixelated
Hmm.
that you're sending me.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there because I'm like it's just not sending it, I guess.
Did you update your Skype today?
Yesterday. I did it yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got the update when I logged in. I was like, "Oh, great. Here we go. Gonna
Yeah.
log in and give me a crappy
Yeah.
thing." But
So it's I got 5 meg up and it's sending 1 meg right now. Like
okay.
next to
Well,
nothing. So I don't know why it's not sending you more to
nah.
give you a better picture, but I guess ultimately, as long as you can see which photo I'm talking about.
Yep. Well, I have them here all called up. So,
My, I every once in a while I log into my modem. I have cable DSL, cable internet. Every once in a while I
hmm
log into modem because I have on the downstream channels. I have 8 downstream channels are all bonded, and that's I get 130 meg down.
hmm
The upstream has been 4 or 5 channels, but only one of them had any activity, and I have 5 meg up. 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden, all five, I think it was five, all five were bonded, and they all have um, some kind of power rating or whatever it is that they list there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that is a precursor to higher upload speeds. Now, it could be a year from now, or I could get something in the mail tomorrow. But
Hmm.
the only reason they would do that is to provide higher upload speed. So I'm hoping I run I run a speed test like every other day.
Yeah. We
Hoping
we
today's gonna be the day.
we we've been 8.4 here for quite a while, and so with all bonded. So I knew when I called Spectrum and they're like, "Oh, we offer other services," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. So what do you offer?" And they're like, "Well, we offer up to 300, 100." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll bite. Like, what's the price?" And the price was out of my range.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what else do you have?" And well, we have 100/10. I said, "That's all I need.
Yeah.
100/10 will be great." And he's like, "Well, it's 299 to install it." I said,
Holy crap.
"So let's roll back a little bit." I said, "First of all, I own my own modem. I own my own high-speed switching unit in house, and also my own AC wireless system in my house." I said, "You guys don't have any equipment in my house." I said, "My modem's a DOCSIS 3. It'll handle 4 down and 8 upstreams, or 4 upstreams and 8 downstreams. So what's to install?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "You're flicking a switch."
Yep.
Well, we have to actually switch nodes, blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Well, forget it, man, because I'm not paying 299 for that." I said, "It's if you guys were offering me 50/100 or 50/150, maybe I would."
Hmm.
So I waited and waited. Finally, I'm like, MacFun called and they're like, "We need you to do a broadcast." And I'm like, "Oh, great." So I got on with my paltry Connect and tried to do it, and it just was not going to work.
Hmm.
Uh, just would not work for 3 callers. And so I called up Time Warner. I said, "Look, I got to have this." Well, they ended up doing it for 199,
Okay.
for the install, but there was no install. The guy did it while I was on the phone. All he did was flick a switch for $199.
So you went with Time Warner and not with Spectrum?
No, no, well, a while ago I moved to Spectrum.
Okay. And
Because
Spectrum down here is the same as Charter. They're starting to call themselves Spectrum down here.
yeah,
So-
there is no Time Warner here anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially that I was on a Time Warner plan, and when Spectrum moved in, they didn't move anybody and just kept charging them the higher amount. And when I called them, I said, why am I being charged like $109 a month just for internet, and it sucks? And they're like, well, why are you being charged that? And I said, that's what your guys are charging me. And they went to lower it, and the guy goes, you're not on a Spectrum plan. Do you just want to like move to a Spectrum plan and we'll lock you in at a rate? And I said, well, I will, but I want guarantees that it's not going to change, and that the rate won't go up after 6 months or whatever your beginner opener deal is.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
you're a regular customer, so that won't change. And they ended up, I think, $69 a month for my 5/70 that I did have.
We're live, by the way.
And oh, okay. And now it's 90. It's not now. It's 109 for 10/1s, 10/100. So
That's not bad. I wonder if I need to call my, Charter, Spectrum, whatever they're called down here, and
Yeah.
and see if they've done it. Because now that how does do you have to do something to make Facebook go live? It's supposed
no,
to
it
just go
takes
live.
forever to go live.
There it is.
There it goes. Yeah.
So let me turn the sound off there, and we will be starting the show in just a second. And I thought I had a button I could do pre-show. There we go. Put pre-show up there.
Just wants to interrupt every time.
I need to call mine and see if I can get more upload speed, because now the channels are bonded, and it could be. And I'm looking at my bandwidth now, and it's, why would it all of a sudden go up to max? Anyway, you about ready to get started?
I'm good, man. I'm just moving windows around right now so I can follow along with you. And you doing this on YouTube as well?
Yeah, I got YouTube and Facebook. We're on YouTube and Facebook today.
There we go. Show 13.
And
I don't watch the video, but I do pop out the chat in Facebook just so everybody. So we're just setting this stuff up, folks. So in just a second
we'll
here.
do the beginners first.
Yeah, yeah.
I may skip a few, so we don't do all of them. And I'm going to mention at the front end, because I know that some people, hey, I entered and I didn't get reviewed. What's going on there? We can't always do all of them. Right.
Cool.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, it's JPEG to RAW photo review number 13. We've been doing this for over a year now, hard to believe. And tonight we're going to go over images submitted to our beginners contest and to our regular contest. Before we do, I want to thank A.D. Wheeler, who's been with me for all 13 shows. You can find his site over at theexplorographer.com, and I should have had that website ready. Let me.
It's back.
Whoa.
It's back there.
It's back. It's back there on yours, on you.
Back on my
yes.
Mac.
It's back
You
on your
can't
Mac.
see it because it's all blown out.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll come back around to that later. Go to the explorographer.com and find AD's site there, all his photos, all the ways to contact AD, and we'll be talking about it later on in the show. His photo store is out there too. If you go to our page, jpegtoraw.com, every post AD has your photo. Every post I do for this show has your photo and your links there. So your photo of you, not like something else.
So, all right, Mike, how much do I have to pay you to remove my photo from every single post? I see what you're doing here, man.
Yeah, there's going to be a fee. So the more shows we do, the higher the price gets. So go out there, and if you want to enter the contest, this is where I should have had a web page ready. If you want to enter the contest, there's really two ways to do that. And one is to go to our Facebook page, our not Facebook page, but our website, jpegderaw.com, and then go to the link that says photo contest. And as you can see here, you can either enter the main Facebook group or the beginner group. This month of June, actually, the theme is open for both of them. They both voted to have no theme, just the open theme. So you can do either one. Or the other way is to join one of our Facebook groups, the regular group, which is facebook.com/group/jpegderaw, or the beginners group, and this one you're just going to search for because it has some long number at the end of it. But just search for JPEG Beginners. The album for both is always pinned to the top for the current month's contest, so just enter there. There's even instructions on how to enter it if you have trouble on how do I enter a photo into the album. So all that is out there and ready for you to enter. So tonight, as we go over these photos, the people have entered into either one of the contests. We have way too many to do every one of them. I'm going to try my best here, AD, to hit anybody who's new this month, for one. So I'm going to try and include those. Two, if you entered more than one, and when we have a theme, which we did in some of these, you can enter up to 2 images. If you enter more than one, I'm probably only going to choose one of those. And if I have to cut anybody, it'll be somebody who's done this a lot, entered a lot. So we can give time to somebody who has not entered any in a while. All right. So cool. Anything I missed there, AD? Just hello to the people out on Facebook. I see Willie Ford's out there. John Jackson's out there. I noticed a couple of new things over on Facebook. You guys who, I love the fact that the people who enter always come on, watch and listen and have some kind of interactions, but feel free to share this live stream with your other photography friends, because the whole idea here is not to criticize someone's images. It's just to open creativity and spark your imagination, spark your creativity by doing what we're doing, and hopefully help you along. And you can easily share the live stream with your friends. And you can also, I see on the feed right now that you can get notified whenever we do this live or whenever Mike goes live on Facebook, because he also does his regular podcast live. Mm-hmm. So click that button so you get a little notification. That way you don't miss the shows live, and you can interact with the show live, which is always a lot of fun. So other than that, Mike, I'm ready to go, man. Yeah, and Willie out there in Facebook chat says he entered both contests this time. Willie entered the June contest, so Willie, you'll have to come back next month to see your photos. But yes, I did notice that Willie entered both contests. That's awesome. We love when new people join and repeats too, because we get to see the people as they grow and get better from AD's awesome critiques here. So let me get started, and if you watched last night, I had a little trouble with selecting the photo, so I'm going to try and do a better job of that tonight. So let's get started with this first one. Get rid of that, get rid of that. And this one is from Barry Kruver. Get his name up there.
Yeah, Barry
Kruver, and let's see what he says. A field of yellow rapeseed flowers used in the production of rapeseed and canola oil. I took some prior shots of this, but decided to return closer to dusk to get better color in the sky. I wasn't able to stay till sunset. This was a series of 7 shots on a tripod and combined in Lightroom to an HDR.
Yeah.
And he's trying to make a conscious decision to make these types of photos in better light. Yeah, I mean, landscape photos definitely benefit, like a lot of photos, from the better light, the evening or the morning light rather than midday.
Yeah, travel photographers, landscape photographers, you really only need to be up 2 times during the day. You need to be up in the morning and at sunset, and the rest of the time is just pretty much gravy on top of that. So you want to get that, the blue golden hour stuff going on. That's where you're going to get the best light, unless you have a weather event or something like that that's really lending a dramatic sky or something. A lot of times midday doesn't work all that great for folks. Now, if you're shooting waterfalls, you can shoot in a cloudy or just after a rainstorm. Really doesn't matter what time of the day if you're in a gorge or something like that. But when you're shooting shots like this, with a big open field like this, you really want to shoot at the prime time, which is sunset or sunrise, when you get that beautiful color and don't have to work so hard, as they say. I watched a little bit last night. I didn't. I have, what's cool is when you guys are on, I basically tune in to support you guys, to watch the chat, answer any questions that I can if there's anybody in there. I do that for several of my YouTube friends. It's nice to have somebody that on the other side to kind of lend a hand. But I really liked what you guys said about this image. And I caught a little bit of this when you were talking about it. And I agree with everything. I think Barry's been listening about the starting with a simple composition. So putting the horizon very close to the thirds there is great. He doesn't make me battle for what's better, the sky or the field. The field takes me out to the barn and then up to the sky. That's exactly what you want in an image like this. So he combined the color. He caught the dynamic range because he shot right at the sun, so he can still have the beautiful colors close to the sun, which if you didn't shoot this in a high dynamic range, it's very difficult to bring that much detail out in the clouds that he had. He didn't overdo his HDR. This is right in that zone that I like to see, where you are not sure that's HDR other than the fact you're like, wow, he captured a lot of light here. He might have used a filter, though. He might have used a graduated filter to capture it, but he didn't. He used HDR when HDR was needed, and then he processed it with a light touch and a very natural look. And he did an excellent job here. The one thing that Tim brought up last night, and I think you did as well, there is a little bit of battle going on between the tree and the barn itself out in the distance. I would have liked to seen the barn more competing with an open sky or the sun, and put the barn. Actually, I disagreed with Tim. He said on the left. That's kind of leaving the scene for me. I would have tried to put the barn more on the right. Maybe change my angle just a little bit. I don't know what's over there, though, so it's easy for me to say that, right? So this is just a learning point. This doesn't degrade the photo at all, because I think it's a wonderful photo. But having that subject really close to the center, and then the big tree that's off to the left lopsides the photo just a little bit. So when you have elements like that, he's got the sky in the right place. He's got the wildflowers in the right place. Now it's just those background elements a little bit, putting them so that they aren't competing with each other. So here he had the tree. He could have gone with just the tree in the field, or just the barn. But I think not both of them, unless he can even them out and make them kind of balance each other rather than fight against each other, which is when they're not balanced in those thirds. They tend to fight with each other. But I think it's a wonderful image, beautiful colors, and just excellent job all the way around. So
I don't remember what Tim had said about the balancing there. I was the one who suggested maybe moving the house a little bit to our right and pushing that tree all closer to the edge. I wasn't suggesting to crop it out, so I don't know if maybe you thought that would be better to crop the tree out or just push it against the edge.
If you can't put the barn in the left side third and the tree in the right side third to kind of make it balance, I think you've got to get rid of one or the other.
Okay.
So that would be my suggestion. So I would like to see if, depending on what the field looks like, if he could have put the barn where the tree's at, like closer to that area. Okay. And then the barn's kind of looking out over the valley. The flowers are leading out to the farm, and you just kind of want to walk out there to that barn and live where they're living, sort of thing. And then you've got that story. The tree is kind of inconsequential and breaks up the field line a little bit too much to the other set of trees that are out there. And that's kind of, it's got that space that kind of draws you over there. That's kind of a photo all on its own, right? You could cut that off and put it in a portrait mode and just have the tree in the fields, which in the sky over there. So it's a case of where there's images within images. So always be looking for that for sure.
And you mentioned this about the HDR. The HDR, as far as anything but the sky, you would have no clue that this was HDR. I don't think he did a really good job down there. The sky is done well, but makes me think maybe there's a touch of HDR here, but the rest of it, the land to me doesn't. I don't see much HDR there.
No,
it's done well.
He did a good job there. I think that you'd be surprised at how much a single raw image could pull out of that sky with the new dehaze slider in Lightroom or in Luminar as well, which I'm working with now. And good news for everybody too. Just a quick plug for my friends at MacFun, which I normally do the MacFun broadcast tonight, but we're taking a night off because they are working hard to bring Luminar to the PC.
Oh,
so
there you go.
it's going to be out in the fall, and I've been working with Luminar on my Mac I know that's like evil words, for the last 4 or 5 weeks. I'm doing some special projects for them. I'm going to be releasing some presets for Luminar on my website. And I'm telling you what, if there is a Lightroom killer out there, Luminar is it. It is pretty darn nice. So, and I think with that, or even with Lightroom, that you could have maybe pulled this out without doing HDR. But he did it in a way that it works. It's not too garish to me. It's a beautiful sunset, and I'm sure that's what his vision was when he was there. So,
yeah. All right, and this actually was our winner in the beginners group.
Yep.
So,
yep.
And going back to your MacFun, I'll be one of the guys in line to get a copy of it, buy a copy when that's time. We may be having some trouble with our Facebook feed, but the YouTube feed is just fine. So I don't know what's going on there. Anyway,
Facebook looks good here to me.
Okay, good. Maybe it's just me. All right, next up, and I want to go over this one from Thomas Sandlin, because Thomas is a true beginner, and has made progress and has entered multiple times. So I want to give him a little bit of critique here. I don't know if you heard what we said last night, Tim and I, but what our critique here was, AD, was forgetting that the sky is a little blown out, but forget that. The tree here is overpowering what he went for a subject. So the subject is a picture of my new house. And in this scene, the tree just completely covers the house. But I love the red little chair that is sitting at the front door. And I love him to come over to our left and get maybe an angled shot of that house, because unless you have a super wide lens, you're not going to be able to go in front of the tree. So come to the side over here and get a shot of his house that way, and make that red chair a little more prominent, and make the tree less prominent.
Yeah. So let's not talk about, like you said, overexposure, that kind of stuff. This is beginners group, so let's just talk about the basic composition of the house. So when we want to let something very obvious speak for itself, I call it a matter-of-fact shot. That composition is generally straight on to the item. It's unimpeded by anything else, and doesn't usually work if there's anything else competing or anything else in the image. So if his goal was to show us a tree that grows in front of a house, then he did it. But he said it's a picture of his house. So with cars, with houses, let's go cars and houses right now. The 45-degree angle shot is a great place to start. So when you shoot a car and you see a nice muscle car you like, or a sports car or something, walk to the front of the car, move over 5 steps to the corner of the car where it looks like the car looks like a V moving away from you, and shoot from there, and the car is really going to overpower the scene. Even if there's background stuff, it'll still demand presence. And the same thing goes with the house. And I think you bring up a really good point that, the chair's cool. I saw that in there, the bright red chair. I thought that was pretty awesome. But I could get this photo from Street View, from Google Street View. Move over, like Mike said, to the left and let's see how much more of your awesome house we can see. And then you need to probably get a little creative about, removing the neighbor's house. Because I know that, the thing is, well, I don't want to shoot my neighbor's house. And you can do it. You can move over and have your house fill the frame so that your neighbor's house doesn't. I can see at least 20 feet that he could move over here.
Right.
And I think that would make you could actually probably almost use the tree to block part of the neighbor's house, right? So I think that, I think the next step from there, once you get that down, is your camera is slightly tilted upwards, which makes the house kind of standoffish or gives it a certain feeling. Try to use like Lightroom or level your camera so that if you look at the two corners of the house, they're kind of tilted like this. You want them to be straight up and down so that the house doesn't have this tilt back kind of look. I tell people that as well, and this as well.
Yeah.
When you have your webcam and you're doing a broadcast, have your webcam above your eye line or even with your eye line, but never have your camera down below.
Right.
Because what this portrays to the audience is that you're looking down on them. And they don't realize it. You might not realize it. It's usually they feel it. Yeah. And it's a very unflattering look as well a lot of times. So unless you're going for this is my haunted house I just bought, or this is my ominous house I just bought, let's put it that way, then you don't want that tilt back. Now, this is only a little bit, and I'm just basically giving you a next step after you get the composition. But I'd like to see him shoot it again and bring it again and show us some different angles. And I'll tell you, if you ever want to learn how to shoot your house, the easiest way to do it is go over to your favorite real estate website and punch in $2 million homes and just copy what they're doing. Because generally you're not going to see amateur photography or beginner photography of a $2 million home.
Right.
And so you can learn a lot by those angles and by those compositions to shoot your own work. And that just makes us all that much better. So I'd like to see him do some more of this and bring some more of it, and love to work with him and help him get the shots that, he's got a brand new home he's very proud of. I know that feeling myself. And you want to get those shots that you'll look back on someday and have those to keep.
Yeah, and this is why I love your reviews, because you're not just reviewing just this specific image, but also giving people who are wanting to shoot something like this ideas on things to look for, things to do when you go shoot it, and going beyond just the critique of this individual image. I would add, we didn't say. I mean, I said that the sky was blown out, but that's minor to what some of the other issues. But once you get past some of those, you might also want to look at, Thomas, is the time of day you're shooting, because it looks like it's somewhere around noonish there by the shadow of the tree. It's pretty straight down, leaning a little bit to one side. So, 11 to 2 or something like that time frame, which is the harshest sun you're going to have. And unless you do some kind of HDR filtering, you're not going to be able to get that sky to look anywhere near not blown out. So you might want to pick some time in the morning or in the afternoon when it's not so dramatic, not so harsh.
Yeah, most real estate folks will tell you, and I've done my fair share myself, you want to shoot the inside of the house at noon or on a cloudy day. One of those two times are usually the best, because you won't have light rays or projections of lights coming through the windows. So if you shoot when the sun is straight up and down, you don't have shadows coming in and getting on the furniture and everything when you're trying to shoot inside. Yeah. Ultimately, you want to shoot in an overcast situation inside the house. Outside of the house, like Mike said, sunsets, sunrises are always great. They put your house in a beautiful light, plus you got the beautiful sky to go along with it. So, yep.
All right. So next up is a new contributor. At least I don't think that this person has entered before. Ted Yeti with this image. And he says, sunset outside my window. 3 photos using a Sigma 10-20 on a Pentax KS2. Bracket -2, 0, +2. And this is one that Microtique here was one. I like looking through the window. I definitely get the feeling that I'm looking through his window by the fact that he captured some of the frame of the window.
Hmm.
I might have cloned out or cropped out, cloned out, I guess, the white semi truck in the background back there
Hmm.
with that one as I do my try and do some of my border patrol here. Well, that's kind of a secondary border with the frame. Um, yeah. Okay. That's my critique.
For me, there's a lot going on. So I read sunset outside my window, 3 photos using Sigma 10 to 20 on a Pentax KS2, bracketed, plus -2, 0, +2 stops. Okay, so right off, I'm kind of getting beginner HDR guy. He's in the beginner club, so I got to kind of look that
Right.
direction. Always remember, if you're using matrix metering or full screen metering or full scene metering, depending on what your camera brand is, Canon is Matrix, I think. And Nikon is full scene metering, I think. Or
We
I
have
don't
we
know.
have
They're all,
I think it's Matrix median. Yeah.
is it? Then it's
My
the other way
camera's
around. I
upstairs.
know that. Yeah. But anyways, you want to make sure that you're metering the whole scene, but also keep in mind that the way cameras look around a scene isn't the way you think it is. It isn't like they look at the whole scene. They take the brightest spot. They take the darkest spot after scanning the whole screen and average it. Now, that may or may not work. And
Hmm.
I did a whole video thing on how your light meter lies to you, especially for HDR. HDR is a funny thing. You should only do HDR if it's warranted. In this particular scene, it's definitely warranted because you've got indoor elements, outside elements, and you've got a sunset also going on. So you can use HDR here. But -2, 0, and +2 is the biggest load of garbage in HDR I have ever heard. And I don't care who told it to you. It is absolutely by no means a baseline to go by. You have to look at a scene, you have to evaluate how much of the scene is bright, how much of the scene is dark, and then you should shoot several exposures to find as close to a balanced exposure as you can and make that your 0 point. So it might be -1, -3, and +1.
Yeah.
You don't know. Your meter lies, and I've shot HDR since 2008. I processed in 32-bit HDR probably longer than anybody has, and I can tell you that if you go by your meter, you're never going to be happy with the final results. And I just think that in this scene, for me, there's several things. There's quite a halo that's going around the people down there by the car,
Hmm.
which is very distracting to me. It looks like they have some sort of light around them or something. And you got this beautiful sky. I like the concept of this image of looking out the window. I agree with you, Mike. The truck has got to go. There's also a little, and I'm pointing at my screen down here like people can see my cursor. There's also a little, if you look at the windowsill, there's a
Little bump.
triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something sticking out there, another roof or something.
Hmm.
By moving his camera back a little bit more and turning it a little bit more to the left, we could have gotten rid of the truck, got rid of the little triangle, and also gotten rid of the shade that's hanging down. Because to me, I get the scene, I get what it is, but I also like not sure about that curtain and things. And there's just so much going on in this scene. We got a sunset, we got railroad tracks, we got people in a parking lot and a light and a windows, and just it's a lot going on. So it's a great idea. I think that it comes down to execution, and it almost seems like you're using luminosity masks. You're going by the -2, 0, +2 principle. It just seems like you might be in a little too deep right now. Let's back out to a single exposure and let's get the composition and the story told first. And let's worry about luminosity masks and all the technical stuff that go beyond that. And there's always time to get into that and learn all of that kind of stuff. And I've been down the road. I started with Photomatix and then went to presets and then went, oh no, I got to do it myself. And then I stopped processing in Photomatix and actually took the HDR RAWs over to Lightroom and then developed the 32-bit method, which is a 32-bit wide RAW file that I process in Lightroom, and all sorts of other things. And then I went luminosity masks. And now, today, I'm actually doing 32-bit plus RAW. So my workflow now has gone back to, I use HDR to get all of the light I need where I need it, if it's warranted. And then a lot of times with newer cameras, like the Sonys and the new Nikons and the new Canons, they have such a wide dynamic range, you almost don't need HDR. We're getting very close with HDR displays now becoming more available. The next step, you're going to see HDR on the back of your camera. And when they do that, I think that they're going to get sensor technology to the point where it's going to be able to give you that full set of light in one shot. And I know there are cameras now, they have multiple sensors. The Foveon sensor from Sigma, which is not a great camera. I'm sorry, Sigma, but it's not. But the technology to be able to shoot 3 sensors at once and capture that extended range is, pretty cool.
Remember when I heard about that probably 15 years ago or something? That's been a long time ago. I thought this is going to be, a Nikon or a Canon. Sony wasn't really a huge player back then. Killer is just, this is the next generation. It just has not gained the popularity or grown like I thought it would with that Foveon sensor.
Right. Yeah. And I just think it's one of those things where Sigma was, they're known as a lens company, not really as a camera company. And they would have been better off selling that patented technology off to somebody else and letting them run with it and develop it. But that's a whole nother story. But getting back to Ted's photo, I think that, if we strip it back, you had a beautiful moment here. You caught a cool, interesting photo. I think all of that was working well for you. But don't be very wary of trying to get too deep into the processing, all of that kind of stuff, because honestly, composition and storytelling in a photo wins over processing any day. I've seen photos that weren't all that, were high key. I mean, they came up with descriptions for all of this stuff because the compositions were so damn good that they couldn't say, well, it's poorly exposed. They just said, no, that's high key. That's high key. That's what we're doing. So start with your composition, work on that, and work on removing elements that may distract. We'd like to see sky out the window. That's what we'd like to see. The railroad tracks, they're okay.
Yes or no.
But they're not a necessity here, are they? Do they help the story? Do the people by the car down there, do they help that story at all? So ask yourself those questions. And if you're a beginner, look up things like what Mike talked about, the cloning tool or content-aware removal in Photoshop. Very easy tools to use, and you could take that truck out of there, and you're already 10 steps ahead, taking the truck and the little triangle thing out of there. So they aren't. The white truck is a killer, man, because
your eye goes right to it. Yep.
You guys look at this photo and tell me that your eye doesn't end up at that truck or start at that truck or see that truck, then you're probably blind. Because, when I saw this picture, I was like, oh, that's unique. That's very cool. But the truck is just like, hey, I'm photobombing from over here. How do you like this? Don't let inanimate objects photobomb you.
If it was a black truck, maybe it wouldn't be such a big deal, but the white truck just pops.
Right. Exactly. Contrast is the killer.
So let me ask you, before we move on to the next one, let me ask you a question. You mentioned your meter lies to you.
Yep.
And are you talking the matrix meter, like the thing where it meters the whole scene, or even the spot meter lies to you?
Well, I think the spot meter, doesn't lie to you as much, depending on the person using it, right? I mean, it's are you pointing to the right spot? No, I think it's mostly matrix metering because the way that it averages, all of the cameras that I've seen work the same way. They look at the bright, they look at the dark, and then they average it for that they don't look at a percentage really of how much of the screen is dark. So I could give you like an example where you can shoot in a dark room and it's light outside and the window is very small in your scene and it won't meter properly.
Yeah.
It will not meter, full scene will not meter properly. But if you try to find the point with a single exposure that's somewhere between what you see out the window and what you see in the room, and then do your brackets, you'll be like, holy cow, I can capture it all in 3 exposures. So,
here's why I ask, because one of the things I did when I was first learning metering, and I'm by far not a pro at it now, was I go out on my deck and look back toward the house. And what I have here is a scene where I can see some of the sky. I can have the chairs down below under the umbrella that are darker. I have a very wide range. And I would sit there and I would turn the manual and I would have it on the matrix metering where it did the whole scene. And you slide your shutter speed or your aperture. Make sure your auto ISO is turned off. But you slide one of those things over to get your exposure just right under 3D. You take the picture and you look at it and go, yeah, that's not very interesting. Then you turn to spot metering and you maintain the same framing, but you move the spot around and expose differently. And that helped me understand, all right, up here, I need to have this shutter speed. Down here, I need to have this shutter speed. Let me see something if I do something somewhere in the middle and what that does to the scene. And just sit there for an hour, whatever time you have, just playing around with all the different metering all over the place and seeing how that changes the image.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're first starting, that's an excellent way to practice it for sure. My view comes from years and years of shooting. We would shoot abandoned locations where there was no power and no light. So you could be in a pitch black room with just windows bringing in the light. And, when you're in that situation, you're kind of been thrown in the pool, so to speak. So I think I developed my eye for how much percentage of light is here and how much percentage of shadow and how to kind of average that quickly in my head. But if you're practicing and you have the time to do it out on your deck or wherever, try to find some place that has real dark shadows. The best thing to do is, like, on a sunny day, go out in your garage if your garage has windows in it, and leave the doors shut to the garage. Don't turn the lights on in the garage. Just go out and try to expose for the inside of the garage and outside windows and play with that range. That's a huge range of light.
It is.
But yeah, using your spot meter to see the differences and see what the exposures and then kind of calculate what's in between those, that's an absolute perfect way to learn about how bracketing and how wide the range of your camera is. That's important too, because all cameras are not the same. I'll go and shoot I have 2 Sonys and I shoot with one of them and it shoots one way. The other one shoots completely different. So practice is one of the things that photographers think that they buy a camera, they read the manual, they go out, take it on their vacation, and they should take $1 million shots right off the bat. And you might get lucky and get a few great shots, but the fact of the matter is that photographers, like anybody, need to practice. And it's, with these guys right here, these things being so dirt cheap, or the larger cards, the compact cards, being so cheap, and space being, something that's a non-commodity sort of thing, you have room to practice. So definitely take the camera out and feel free just to goof around with it, and then put the stuff in Lightroom. And that's what I like to do. That's the way I did it, is I'd go out and shoot, and I'd pay attention a little bit to the numbers, but I just shot what looked good, right? And then I'd go back and look at it in Lightroom and look at my settings and be like, oh, well, that didn't work, and don't do that again, and that sort of thing. So practice, though, that's the number one thing.
John Jackson out in chat says, can you spot meter different locations and take shots at each location, combine all the shots? So that's sort of what you're doing with HDR. In that sense, you want to have it on a tripod, but he's wanting to go around the image and spot meter dark and light and use that as my multiple exposures and then blend all that in Lightroom. Or
You can.
or
You can.
Photomatics?
You'll be doing like big extremes at that point, though.
Yeah.
So you may have a lot of. So HDR software is very unique in that it's kind of AI-ish in that it will try to fill in the blanks. And what I found with a lot of HDR shooters were they'd go out with that -2, 0, +2 thing, and I can immediately spot when the software is filling in the blanks. So shooting smart HDR is when you know when to use it, first of all. I see a lot of people use it when it's not even needed. But using it when it's needed, and then also using it in the way that you're getting the right bracket of exposures with the right distance between the exposures and so on and so forth. In a lot of cases, like on crop sensor cameras especially, 3 exposures is not enough. They do not have the range to cover the light. You might as well not even shoot HDR. I mean, you're getting a little extra light, but not enough to speak of. You really want to shoot at least 5 or 7 exposures on a crop sensor camera, even newer ones. They just don't have the range, but they have speed. That's what they have. So with a full frame camera, it's different. It's way different. There's much more dynamic range there. They're slower, but for landscape shooters, they work really well because we're not under any time pressure usually. So, but yeah, so HDR as a whole, like it's not just really cut and dry. It's heavy technology, and we see it used every day in not great ways. But I think that if you delve deep enough, you'll find folks out there that know how I teach specifically 32-bit because I don't like the HDR look personally. I just want to make sure that when I go to a shoot, I bring home every ounce of light that was there. And when I get home, I can assemble the photo that my eyes saw. Because if you take an exposure with your camera, you're talking about spot metering. And if you can remember what you see and you look on the back of your camera cannot see what these eyes can see.
Right.
A perfect example is shadows. Exposing an image for the right light, and then you look at the shadows, and then you look at it with your eyes, you're like, well, I can clearly see my shoes under the table, but
right here in front of me, I can see under my monitors. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, but keep at it. HDR is something that's worth learning, and it's worth using, and it's not all bad as the whole bunch of folks would like you to think out there. There is bad HDR, don't get me wrong.
Definitely that, yes, yeah.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
up next is this one. Very interested to see what your comment on this one is. This one's from Jade Cook. We talked about this one last night, and it is. Let's see. He's out. I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this. He's out delivering in a supermarket. He came across these bread trays, if you know the big plastic bread trays, stacked on top of each other, and he decided to shoot down through them and capture that pattern.
Yeah, so I ran into Jade in the Facebook group, I think, on this photo, and I had to compliment him. I thought this was fantastic. He took this with his cell phone.
Yep.
I mean, how awesome is that, right? and it is symmetrical. The very first thing I look at, me, it's horseshoes and hand grenades. There's no such thing as kind of symmetrical, right? I mean, it's either symmetrical or it's not. That's the thing. He nailed it pretty well. I look around the image. There's a very tiny, but nothing that pulls my eye away. He did an excellent job of squaring this up and getting it straight. And what a wonderful find. I love finding things. You had Scott Norris on the show, and this was just like a direct influence I saw almost immediately. Maybe Jade doesn't even realize it, but just taking the simple, mundane thing and making something really interesting and cool looking out of it. This looks so high tech, and I didn't know
this could be
what
lasers.
It was. Right. I didn't know exactly what it was. I kind of had an idea, but just the depth and everything, and it's true abstract. I think that's the thing, is when you see something and you're like, I kind of know what it is, but I really don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a winning image as far as I'm concerned, is an abstract image for sure. So nice job.
We talked about this last night in that, yes, Scott is the master at finding things that are ordinary everyday stuff and making it into art. And this is something I probably would have passed right by these bread trays. But so congratulations to Jade for stopping and taking this shot, and great shot with that. So
nice work.
Let's keep things moving. I'm going to, I'll bring this one up, but I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. This photo here by Jeff Barnes. Jeff is a new entry, and Jeff is, I love shooting sports. Jeff's out there shooting sports. I think this what he's shooting at a local high school baseball game. Went out to practice and taking this shot of a player sliding in the second. The comment we had last night was, he's got the action, but it looks like he somehow the camera front focused or he front focused and got somewhere in the field prior to second base with that shot. So that's my main comment there.
Yeah. Too much going on in the image. The technical side of it, yes, you missed your focus point. Mm-hmm. This is one of those things where baseball, interesting. You shot a lot of it, yeah. I know, Mike, and I've shot my fair share of. We have a AAA stadium that's within walking distance of my house, and I get over there to shoot once in a while. Baseball's a funny thing. Like, depending on your positioning, you can usually cover a couple of bases in the pitcher. So if you're behind home plate, you can usually get about the right distance from third base to the pitcher to first base. Most of those distances are going to be very close if you're behind home plate.
Yeah.
But as you move, the distances change. So it's hard to nail your focus. And a camera from down low will have a very difficult time in getting that focal plane because you've got that low angle. It's just not going to know very precisely exactly the point of where to focus. So manual focus is almost a requirement. Unless you've got a stand-up play going on or something like that where you have a body that you can focus on. But in a shot like this, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it'd be very difficult to use an automatic focus with something like this, at least in my experience.
Well, what I was thinking is I use back button focus for a lot of my sports, so I could have left it on auto and back button focused on the bag, and then let off. And waited for him to come into the action, then started shooting. So you could have done it that way, or you could have manual focused. I'm not a great manual focuser, so I tend to just use the back button focus. I'm not sure even if you did that, the dust is so much. I like to have seen it in focus. And he might also have a little bit of a shutter speed problem there. I can't tell. Most of the time when I have to shoot baseball, they won't let me on the field, so I'm shooting through the chain link fence. I don't see in this image any of the. Sometimes you get some of the slight graying of the. You think you blurred it all out, but there's a little bit left there.
Right.
I don't see any of that here, so he might have been on the field. I don't know. At this age, they definitely wouldn't let me on the field. This age players.
Sure. Right.
And when you're doing it through the fence, often your lens will grab that fence and bring your focus in and out. You got to be very careful with that, and it could have been at that point too.
Yeah, and so you're talking about shooting at a wide open aperture, like 2.8 with a 70 to 200, which is a very common lens to use for baseball. A 70 to 200 usually will get the job done quite well, unless you're trying to zoom in right fielder. Yeah, right. My thought with this image is that it's not the decisive moment. It's after the decisive moment for me, where he's touching the base. So I would have liked to seen when the dust just started to be thrown off the hands, just started to kick it up. I think you would have still seen. I mean, this looks like a dust cloud with a helmet on it, really, and some legs.
And with that, that's a great point, because with that point, depending on how many frames per second your camera can do and what size buffer you have, with my current camera, I can do this. I try and shoot a little bit before I start hitting the shutters a little before the action and go all the way through it. Because sometimes you have that collision that's happening right after the action. And if you're stopping right as they touch the bag, you're
Right.
missing maybe some of the big things. So there's no one else here, but it had to have been somebody on second. That collision may have happened afterwards or before. So you want to get that
Right.
before and after and all the way through. And then, yeah, that's when you come home with all these shots and most of them don't work.
Yeah, sports shooters, when you're shooting, I mean, no sports shooter goes out and fires single frames
Yeah.
unless maybe golf. I don't even think golf. So, I mean, you're going out there with the machine gun because that's how you get those moments.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of deleting going on and whatnot, but yeah, you're not going out there shooting single shots.
The key is anticipating the action and getting yourself in the position to do that.
That is correct. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Up next is this one from Nancy Zoomback. Smith.
Yep.
Nancy Zoomback. Yeah, that's it. Nancy Zoomback Smith. And she says, a second shooter at a wedding and of this lovely couple and snap this as the photographer changed her position. And so as we had a couple of critiques last night. We'll love to hear your feedback, AD, but mine was the distraction on that left side, our left side of the tree or whatever thing that's coming in the shadows. Tim had mentioned the guy's hand that's coming up out of her head and touching the frame there. We did like, the motion that she has is awesome. The smile she has there. The fact that the shadow in the window, we like that too. It does have a little bit of a lean to it.
Yeah.
Off to our left.
Yeah.
That you probably could have corrected in post. Yeah.
Should have corrected in post. Yep. So just to talk about leaning in images, leaning is done to create tension. So we don't lean as humans usually, and buildings aren't built on an angle unless it's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So in looking at that building, when people first see that building, they're actually tense because they think the building's going to fall. So when you lean an image, it used to be like a thing in the 70s. They used to call it the Dutch angle to actually add drama to an image. They'd turn it, and that's what you got. You got that action sequence going on or something.
Yeah.
But I look at this and I look at Nancy says that she snapped this as the photographer changed position. So she's just kind of hanging out. And so let's just talk about that part of it first. Excellent capture of a cute moment. And just, a quick snapshot. For a snapshot, it rises above the normal snapshot, I think, because of the decisive moment, maybe a missed moment by the actual photographer. So, let's get that out of the way. Mm-hmm. So good job there, Nancy. I think that's cool that you did that. I'm not huge. Well, the arm gets me. I think Nancy could crop this down to just over the top of her head because she's like the story here, and crop the arm right off the top. And this image would have a completely different power to it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'd have to play with it. I haven't put any of these images in Lightroom or Photoshop. We're going to have to do an episode where I go through and edit images.
That's a great idea.
For beginners, just to show them how quick and easy they can make their images much more powerful and stronger. The hand coming. What's weird for me is the hand. His sleeve is down.
Yeah.
And her arm is bare. So it makes me think that she has her hand turned it's just weird, man.
The only way I knew that is the shadow, the reflection and the
right.
Yeah.
You can see a little bit of that in the reflection. I think that probably if she was moved a little bit more to the left and I could see more of him, and the arm was maybe less coming straight out of her head. I don't know. It's just, I got to just say that unfortunately for me, unless that arm is gone, it's just a cute moment for the bride and will mean something to them. And she took the photo well. It's well exposed. It's got good tone. And I would just call it at that. I think that's the important part here.
Well, you could do a couple of the easy fixes. Like if you look to the right, you can definitely see the tension because look at the building, how the bricks get smaller as they go down. So you could fix that that leaning issue fairly easily in
Oh,
post,
sure. Yep.
and
Yep.
that might also get some of this shadow that's happening off to the left. So you can solve those two pretty quickly and easily. The arm is a little bit more difficult, and you have to go with a much tighter crop, like you said.
Yeah. The shadow that's on the left is actually a tree branch that's closer to the lens and bokeh it out. Yeah. So that, there is that. Maybe this is an image that, though, if you think about it, because they're right in the center, this works better as a portrait than it does as a landscape.
Yeah.
So
well,
things to think about.
We're moving pretty slow tonight, and I know
that's all right.
So let's move on to that was the beginners group. Let's move on to the regulars group now. And first up, we'll do is we always got to do Millen.
Yes.
We always got to do Millen. So here's Millen's entry, and they did have a theme. So the regular group had a theme of bokeh.
Bokeh.
So you will see what should be a common theme throughout this and why they took this. So Millen says, I was amazed by the variety of ideas about bokeh. So I wanted to make a nice image in which the bokeh will be the subject. In my previous image, it was a glass of wine. I think that was last month. In front of colorful lights. So this time, the lights from the Christmas decorations hanging on the door. Why do you have Christmas decorations? This is June.
So we could make this image.
The glass of wine is placed on the table, and that is on the couch. All right. And then he goes into some of. My idea was that the bokeh from the lights will look like falling into the glass or coming out of it, if you will. The image was taken with a Nikon D3200. Okay, so yeah, he's trying to get the thought of the lights falling into the glass, which it does look kind of like that.
Yep. So a couple of ideas for Millen make this a winning image for me. Let me see the whole glass because you cut off the bottom of the glass. Take a small LED flashlight and light up the back of the wine so that I can see the red wine. If you did those two things, you would have blown the competition out of the water. And I don't want to give anything away for the rest of the images that are here tonight. Yeah. This is the only image that the subject is actually bokeh.
Okay. Yep.
So just as we go along, you'll see what I mean.
Nope.
But
I would love for Millen to reshoot this with that idea and post it out in the group. Yeah,
absolutely.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, because I think that he was onto something here. It just needed those final things. But it is a wonderful image, great idea. It's not groundbreaking by any means, but it's executed well. He did a good job. But I need to see the wine. I can't tell it's red wine other than from his description. So a little bit of light behind that glass. What that's going to do is it's going to put a highlight around the glass. So it's going to light the glass up itself. And it's also going to make the red pop. And you would put it off camera, you wouldn't see it, but you would just shine it on the back of the glass as you're shooting the same exact shot, I think. And I would have liked to seen a little bit more of the bottom part of the glass as well. Just a little room in the image. But I thought great idea, and he spotlighted what the subject was. He didn't just use the subject in the shot; he made it the subject of the shot, which is the bubbles coming out of the glass.
All right, up next, and Philip actually just joined chat, so this is great timing by Philip. We have two images from Philip. I only want to do one of them because we're running short on time. So, any preference to the first one or the second one? The two.
Let's do the first one.
Okay, so the first one here by Philip. Let me get his name. Oh, do I not have Philip's name?
Philip Halmesser.
Why don't you talk while I create a name for?
Well, the photographer is Philip Halmesser. He is out in chat right now, and the name of this photo is the Wine Bar, and it's from a wedding that they did last weekend. He realized he hadn't taken any photos for this month's contest, so he took the advantage of the moment. And he gives us a little information about his camera there, shot on a 1.4 lens, which looks like it was wide open as far as I can see. I think it's a cool shot. I like the tones and all of that kind of stuff. Good on the composition. But my man, Go turn that bottle for me a little bit.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of looking at the side of the bottle. And we don't have to stick on this photo. That would be the only suggestion that I would kind of have for this.
Okay.
Maybe I would have angled it a little bit more to remove the stacked chairs that's behind it, because I believe that that's what's back there. And I don't have bokeh vision, but essentially that looks like stacked chairs to me in the background, or something stacked back there. The subject here is the glasses and the wine bottles. So try to angle your shot so that that background was that nice red. So whatever way you had to angle yourself to keep that nice red back there is gorgeous. Can we just show his next one too? Because I want to go quick on these two.
Yep.
Which is the wine glasses themselves. This a much better shot, less distractions in the background. This was what I was talking about earlier with the matter-of-fact shot. Now this shot says everything about finely stacked wine glasses are all lined up perfectly. That means that they gave a crap about the wedding party, and that they do things nicely here. That has that whole thing is wrapped up in this image quite well. And I like the way that the glasses here are just matter of fact. They're wine glasses. And so I just wanted to mention that I think this is the more powerful of the two images. The other image, even though there are a little bit of distractions here, they are really hidden quite well by the foreground, which is the glasses that are very, very nice, tightly focused job on the stems there. They all look really nice. So
All right. We're going to skip ahead, AD, to slide number 7.
7.
Let's slip ahead.
I did a whole series on these.
Okay, unless there's one in between that you wanted me to hit. But this one is
that's good.
This one, a new contributor, Carlos Larrea.
Laria.
And Carlos did not leave us information about the shot, so
that's okay.
Yep. So this is a shot of, I take it him or somebody holding up a little glass ball.
Yep. So this is what I was talking about, like the subject matter. It's a good mix of bokeh and in focus, but which is which? And I will tell you that go out to eBay or go out to Amazon. Make sure you use the code for JPEG to RAW for Amazon purchases.
We do have that back again. Yes.
Yay! Okay, so go out there and search for 110 millimeter crystal ball. You can buy them for like $25. Any photographer, I'm telling you, it's very cliche nowadays, although it didn't used to be, it is now. And take it with you everywhere you go. Be very careful. If you look at Carlos' finger right now, he is probably just a little bit away from being burnt. And I'm not kidding one bit. These crystal balls at about a foot away in bright sunshine will start an instant fire. I was in Colorado shooting with mine, and I set a rock on fire with mine.
Wow.
A rock. It was burning the dust off the rock. They are very powerful and very dangerous. And when you get them on the box, they actually say fire danger. And I was like, what? Like the box will instantaneously. I didn't realize until I carried it outside in my hand and my hand started to burn that the sun goes through it and it focuses right on the other side.
Like the magnifying glass, yeah.
Like a magnifying glass, only like 1,000. It's like a flat magnifying glass is one thing, but then when you start making it into a ball, it becomes a laser almost, and it's pretty dangerous. So
I can burn the whole ant bed.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The whole yard if you want to. The thing that's great, why I tell people to go do this and go get one of these and play with it, it opens up a whole new world of composition and learning. If you think you know anything about photography, try shooting through one of these or putting one of these in your photo to make different compositions out of it. And I took a whole year and just took this crystal ball with me everywhere I went and did all sorts of different photos. And a lot of times I found like flipping the photo upside down was better, so that what was in the crystal ball was right side up, but the rest of the world was upside down. I mean, you learn all sorts of different things about composition and what pulls your eye and here and there. I think this is a neat idea. I think, if anything, Carlos needs to just keep going. You're there. You've started with it, man. Just keep going. I'd probably get a bigger crystal ball because shooting on a small one's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And they're very hard to focus through. But once you get it, I've done waterfalls where I've shot the whole waterfall through the crystal ball and then flipped the whole thing upside down. And people have been like, how did you get that lens effect? And you could do all sorts of really cool stuff. I've shot weddings where I've had I had the bridesmaid and the best man hold the crystal ball with the bride and groom behind it. And I would focus on the ball in their hands, and it was like they're holding the bride and groom in the ball.
Cool. Now, what size do you recommend there?
110 millimeter.
110 millimeter. Okay.
Yeah, and that's going to be about 4.5 inches around. It's a fairly heavy. It's going to weigh probably 7 or 8 pounds.
Okay.
But
wow.
It is totally an awesome and fun thing to shoot with. Always attracts other photographers. They always want to take a photo through it, or they want to talk to you about it. So it's a great conversation starter. But for the biggest thing, it's like getting an infrared camera for the first time. It's when you need that creative boost in your work, you get one of these things, you start playing with it and realize like how much you really don't know and how much it opens you up to learning even more. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think this is an excellent try. Don't burn yourself. Don't burn people with it. It's pretty harsh. I wouldn't recommend taking it out in direct sunlight, but that's just me. So.
All right, up next is this image from Amber Salot.
Yes, Amber. Amber has won my Lightroom package before, hasn't she?
I think she has, yes. She says, Cotton Stainer Nymph. I have been shooting macro quite a bit lately. I love the shallow depth of field, even when shooting higher apertures, when getting this close to subjects.
Yeah, so I like this image for a macro image. I always like tiny worlds, and I think that macro images with a lot of bokeh. I like to focus stack too, but and that's where you take many shots and you stack the different layers of focus so everything's in focus. But I also like the shallow depth of field on this stuff because it brings you down to that tiny world of the bug or the mushroom or the fern or whatever you're shooting. It's a subject matter. I don't think the composition here for me is all that great. It's a targeted shot right in the center. I think the bug with a lot of space and that weird looking, cotton ball or whatever it's on there that it's picked apart would have been more interesting if it was shot maybe at a different angle where I would have had green as the background and the bright orange red bug on this weird planet-y looking thing for me. But it's a little too targeted. And when I say that, it just means that there's negative space all around the bug everywhere. And that tends to end up competing rather than pushing us towards the bug.
So you would like an even tighter shot on the bug?
Maybe, but I just think, again, for me, having an equal or a large negative space with the bug on maybe the right and a larger negative space on the left. And the only way you could prove this is to see the photos yourself and look at what it does for storytelling in an image rather than targeting in the center. Portrait photographers fall into a zone where they take headshots of everything. I see portrait photographers all the time put the subject right in the center because, well, that's where my focus is at. And they don't use the environment or the negative space to make a powerful image. If you look at your top photographers, your high-end guys who are making the big bucks, they're using their environment for their portrait photography, and they're creating that negative space or the space around you is leading you to the subject, which is, not just a headshot or not just what I would consider a snapshot. Just because your focus point is in the center of your camera, move it around. And it does move. Movable focus spots are available, or focus and then shift your composition and then shoot. I just think that's the basic place to be starting with composition. And to me, it's, ask yourself what the rest of this blank part of the image is doing for the bug and the story here.
All right.
It's not.
Very good. We're going to do two more.
Okay.
And we're going to go from one bug to another bug. This is slide 10 for you, AD.
10. Okay.
This one is from, I got to get rid of that name. This one is from Debbie Henry.
All right, Debbie. Yep. I've seen her name out there.
Yep. You've seen her name before. This one, Debbie Henry. She did not give us any information, so I don't know anything about this one, but what I can see of it is some type of bug. I'm not even sure what type of bug it is on some type of plant. I'm not sure what plant it is.
Yeah, it's I know the plant because we have them all over the place down here, and I shot some of them when I was in Wyoming, but I can't think of it off the top of my head, which is not really important to the image. Again, a targeted image where the subject is right in the center, and there's a lot of different buds and a lot of different flower things going on here. There is a nice rule of odds for what's in focus as far as the flowers go. One of the things that we try to do with flowers usually, or any subject that we have a focal plane like this we're looking at, is try to keep odd numbers in there. And so with this particular image, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if you count everything that's in the image, less the bug. So that's an even number, and probably just too many of them to begin with. Maybe getting a little closer and keeping it to the bug and just the flower itself and maybe the bud that's there, which, shooting bugs, I do a lot of it. I love to go out in my garden. We have a beautiful big garden. My girlfriend maintains this amazing setup, and we attract all sorts of bugs, all sorts of birds.
Butterflies.
And I love butterflies, lots of butterflies. And I love just going out and trying, because it is something that if you want to practice as a photographer, go chase bugs around. And I'll tell you that the biggest secret to photographing butterflies is not to chase them. If they are feeding on a flower, go set yourself up at that flower and stand still for 5 minutes. If they leave, generally they will come back, because that's their food source, and they have to just make a decision of whether or not they are willing to come near you in order to get that nectar. And half the time, if you chase a butterfly, you'll just end up back at the same spot again. So I usually will look where the butterflies are at. I'll go and sit down, and I'll wait for them to come back. And they always come back near that or to the same flower. But it's a challenge.
John Jackson asked, could she crop it? Could she crop it in?
Yeah, so the evils of cropping, right? We hear about that all the time. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know, Mike, you're running short on time here. We've been an hour.
I'm good.
And
I just
10
don't want
minutes.
to keep you too long.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So cropping, yes, you can crop. Absolutely. Crop. That's what it's there for. But keep in mind, I've seen people crop images. A lot of times the popular thing to do is to crop into a panorama format from a landscape, let's say. And sure enough, someone will come along and be like, wow, I'd really like a print of that. And you've cropped it. And
You
then
done
they'll
5
say,
megapixels.
I would like one to fit on that wall back there. And you're going to lose a good sale because your image can't be pulled out to that. So cropping, yes, you can do it, depending on the use of the photo and where you're going to go with it. If you're practicing, by all means, crop your images so you can see the difference in compositional power. You cannot visualize it until you actually crop it and see it full screen and see what that change does. So crop the heck out of your images all over the place.
Yeah. And you do it in Lightroom, you can undo it. It's super simple.
It's non-destructive.
Because I would like going with what John was saying. I was thinking, what about a crop that cropped out those top 2 buds or whatever they are, and maybe that one left, our left branch is going off that way. So you have those, or however many that is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm still with the even number. That are brought closer into the frame and more dominant into the frame.
I'll tell you what I've done before with insect images. I'm probably giving all my secrets now, and y'all can go unlike me on Facebook or whatever. I've sometimes rotated my images and recropped them
Rotated.
because, yeah, because like an image like this, you could actually rotate this
Okay. Yeah.
and be able to crop out certain things that you couldn't do just by sticking with a square crop the way it is, the square lines. So sometimes I'll turn the image and then I'll crop. And you should always do that. You should try those things because you can see different power levels that the compositions have that you're not going to be able to visualize directors used to see them do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you wonder what that's about. That's about visualizing what that will look like in different compositions. And they're moving the thing around in the composition to look at it. So you could do it in Lightroom, you can do it in Photoshop, you can do it in MS Paint probably. No matter what program you're using, yes, definitely crop, definitely play with different things. Even try roughly erasing things and cropping it in Lightroom because you can use the clone brush and all that kind of stuff. And I really think for the next show, Mike, what I'd like to do is you guys do, and I laughed when you guys started your thing because you're like, well, I have to wait to see what AD says.
Yes, we do.
And I appreciate that you guys enjoy what I do, and I appreciate the people who come here and watch and hang out, and I hope they get something out of it. But for me, you guys do a great job in critiquing the images. And when I say that, critiquing is really about another pair of eyes lending ideas for creativity and helping people get over their creative roadblocks. It isn't about slamming people for images. It isn't about saying, well, you should put the camera down because you're just not getting it. I mean, that's not what we're about here.
Right, exactly.
No, someone says that to you, walk the other way and keep shooting because you're going to be a much better photographer than they are. The main thing is, though, I would love to go through, handpick a set of images from the beginners and from the pro folks or the regular folk or whatever they call themselves. I would like to take a set from each, probably mostly beginners, because I'm sure that the advanced people can still pick up some things from that. And I would love to just say, like, maybe take 5 or 6 images for the next show. We'll talk about them, and then I'll process them for you guys and do some changes that I would make that would help the images or ideas that you possibly could apply that would help take it to the next level. I think that would be a lot of fun for me. And
I think that would be awesome to watch. And to help you with that, I'll give you more than 2 days notice.
Whatever works.
Which is what I gave AD this time. I asked him 2 days or 1 day ago, maybe last night. Yeah. So I will try to do a better job of getting them to you sooner so you don't have to put it all in one day. But that would be awesome to watch that. And I think that would be really helpful because hearing a lot of these things, it's like when you're learning anything. Someone telling you what to do sounds, okay, yeah, that sounds simple. Going out and doing it is a whole different thing. But now watching you actually make these changes is very powerful, much more powerful than just hearing them.
Well, I think that too, we could actually have question and answer too, right? So instead of folks just sitting around and listening to me run at the mouth, they could actually ask questions that we could answer them or show them.
So maybe we'll do fewer images, but more of that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's do one last one here, and this will be slide 11 for you, AD.
Slide 11.
I can find it there, and this one is from Ann Snowden.
All right.
Hopefully I said her name right. There we go. And she says, my one tree in the backyard, evening light a little too bright on the flowers than I like it to be, but I still like it. My first time posting in a long time. Okay. I'm busy. Wow.
Yeah.
I thought I'd seen her post recently. She says she's been busy for a few years. Anyway.
Well, this is a great case for cropping. And I'm not sure if it's Angie or Ange, one of the two. But I would say crop with this a little bit and play with it because we have the flowers are gorgeous. I do like the high key, like the bright light on it. I think that shows that the sun was bright on that one flower. I think that's great. But play with the cropping a little bit and see if the image doesn't pop for you if you move that flower that's in focus to the lower right thirds and just crop up just a little bit. I think that, a simple composition lends more to a simple image like this. And to me, it's one image is surrounded by all this stuff. It's almost like a zombie attack.
And if you do that, if you move that to the lower right, I think you would end up with just the 3 flowers, right? Or
Yes.
those 3
Yep.
main ones.
Yeah. The three
I'm
the
pointing
three
to my
levels
screen too.
Right, and there are 3 levels of focus, which I think is nice as well. You've got the in focus, slightly out of focus, and then bokeh out. And there's actually one more back there that's just basically melded into the background as the full bokeh at that point. But again, just because the camera says the middle of the frame is in focus, don't be afraid to the trick is when you use that, if you don't have a movable focus spot, which I think most cameras do now today, but if you don't have that, get your subject, put it in the center on spot focus, press the button down and hold it halfway. That will lock your focus, move to your composition, press the rest of the way down. That's going to get you your shot. And I think that, for this, you could crop it after the fact. I'm sure it's got enough megapixels you could do that. But on the other hand, you could also shot it that way too. And most cameras come with little guides on the inside that you can use for your composition as well. So.
Yep. All right. Well, that was the images for this month.
Awesome.
Thank you, AD. Thank you guys for coming out. If you want to join, June, we have 9 more days left. Yep, 9 more days left.
Yes.
I did.
Oh man. Wow.
I know June's moving by fast. I did something special this month. We're going to see how that works. In the beginner group, I did an event. So it's going to give everybody in the group a warning as we get close to that day that you need to enter your image, because one person, and I'm sure this happens to multiple people. One person said, "Darn it, I missed the day. I didn't realize it was the end of the month until 2 days afterwards or whatever." So if that works and it's not too annoying to the group, because I don't want to spam people, I may do that in the regular group too. It's just another reminder to get your image in for the month. So, and we went over at the beginning of the month, the beginning of the show. You can enter through our website or you can enter through the Facebook group. And don't forget to go over and check out AD's website, The Explorographer. There we go. I only have to type in "the" and it starts coming up on my spread on my thing. So
Too much stalking, Mike.
Too much what?
Too much stalking me.
Yeah,
Stop that.
I know. I'm stalking you. So go over.
I actually have some news. I have about 15 news stories in the queue right now.
Awesome.
So I've been so lax in writing. I've got all these backed up stories, and so new stuff is coming soon. I promise. So.
We know what we should do. Well, now that I have this pulled up, we should turn off the audio for a minute and pick the winner of the Lightroom preset pack, right?
Yes, sir.
So we'll be right back. You guys can watch his ADs. This is his homepage. He watches his photos stream through. So we'll be back in just a minute. All right, we're back. Let me bring us where you can actually see us. And then I'm going to, so this is going to be a little different. We picked an image that actually we didn't show tonight. Star Wars. Picked an image we didn't actually show tonight, but here it is. This image. Wow. Hold on. I got to go back. Why is that?
Madman at the controls.
Here we go. I got this
There
thing
it is.
auto playing. This one from Lokesh. Lokesh R. LR, whatever. I said that
Lur.
wrong. Lur.
what I-
Congratulations, Lokesh. You have won AD's Lightroom Premium Lightroom Preset Pack. And if I can go back to the web page. So we go back to AD's web page, and you go up here to Store, Photo Tools Store, and then you get all his items in the Photos 2 store. I will reach out to you, Lokesh, and give you the code in sometime in the near future, and you can go there and get it. I'll give you details on how to get it.
My store's not working right now. Look at that.
Well, let's go back to the home page.
Holy cow.
We'll have that fixed before you go there.
That's good to know. I'll have to go check that out. My own store ain't working. Wow.
Yeah, that happens. The joy of having to run a website. Something you would hope would just run and never have to deal with. I've been fighting mine here lately too, with that. So, okay, so we, as we head out, don't forget you can get this on YouTube, on Vimeo, and on iTunes. We only do a video portion of this because I don't think the audio would do that well with it. And we do it once a month. And we will try and always stream to YouTube and Facebook. So come out and join. You got to get your images into the contest. And there's multiple ways to do it if you want to see your image here. But come out and join us next month. We'll see you then. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Barry, John, Philip. I saw, who else did I see out there earlier?
Willie's out there?
Gary, Willie. Yep, Willie's still with us. Willie entered some good images that we'll be looking at next month.
Willie's up way past his bedtime right now.
He's in Ireland, I think.
Ireland,
I only
my
see
homeland.
the most recent comments. Where's all the other comments? Greg, there he was. Greg is out there, and Tony was out there earlier. Tony Carudo?
Oh yeah, my buddy Tony.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is out there. So now we're in. I got this little button I can do post show. So people know that this is a post show. So AD talked a little bit last night. I don't know if you hung out all the way to the end. Where I was talking about how you said, "Dude, if you're gonna go running or walking in the dark, you should have a headlight." My wife 2 nights ago got up with my shorts, and she said all the bug bites down my leg, and she said, "You went through all that and still lost." Yeah,
oh man,
I did. Really, such as 2 a.m. But hey, it was fun challenge, even though I lost.
Right. Yeah, I mean, dude, like I was looking at like your steps. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
46,000 in one day.
You gotta work up to things like that. You don't go out and
Somebody challenged me. So you're right. You're right. And I my normal week was somewhere in the 50,000 range. So yes, I got blisters on both feet, and most of it is better now. I got one that I'm still dealing with, but most of it's better. But I was determined to not let them win easily. I didn't think I could win, but it got within 2,100 steps. So it was 116,000 to 114,000 steps for 5-day challenge.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, they say is with great power comes great responsibility. So you can't be a superhero to the masses and then go out and do something silly like that. You gotta
but
hurt yourself.
But it's a slow process of me trying to get in better shape. It actually started with you.
Oh, you look good, man. I was, when I saw that picture of you, the one that you made fun of there of you being out on the deck in your shirt. I mean, that was a good photo of you, man.
Well, the angle helped out there too. But it started with you when, if you remember, gosh, this was maybe 2 years ago or so, when someone gave me what looked like a large cereal box, but instead of having cereal inside, it had nerds. And I took a photo of that large box. So I was so excited. I love nerds. I was so excited. I got that box, and I put my Diet Coke right next to it, took a photo and posted it. and you you were the one who commented, "Dude, you're trying to kill yourself" or something like that. And I ended up giving the whole box away.
Those days are gone, my friend.
Yes, I've got to cut the sugar out and do start exercising some. So, yeah, it's fun. And if you're to the at some point being out of physical shape, it infects everything in your life, including
Yes,
your
it does.
photography and all that stuff. So, hopefully I can continue it.
Actually, Tony, who was out in chat, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he did the Galactic 50 thing. So if you go to
Yeah.
True Vision Photos, you can see his shoot the Milky Way in 50 states. That was what he wanted to do.
He's
year,
done with that?
No.
Okay.
Last year he got at the end of it he got real sick, and I mean, yeah,
True
it's
Vision what?
True Vision Photos.
Okay. I think I
he got
remember
real
seeing something about.
Yeah, he got real sick and it had something to do with Lyme disease or something like that. It wasn't Lyme, but it was something on that order. And so he's just getting back on his feet. So I'm excited to see what he does. But yeah, just him being sick, his photography, he just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth after having that amazing run and show of the Milky Way photos, which are phenomenal. And he's gotten a lot of press and a lot of mileage out of all that, which is totally due for sure.
Mm-hmm. Does he have it in a special gallery?
It's under blog. So if you go to the blog okay. and scroll down, yeah. So if you scroll down, you'll see there's the Galactic 50 update. Yeah, so his last update was September 9th. So he got sick around that time. So he's excited to get that rolling again. And so if any of you people were following him, Tony is back, and I was glad to see him tonight out there. So back among the living, as we say.
So you said he got like Lyme disease or something like that?
Some sort of thing. I was talking to him. It was I think they didn't diagnose it properly and all this kind of stuff, and he was just out of commission for all the way till like last month. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he's doing better.
Yeah, me too, for sure. So, we got to figure out what's wrong with my store. My store doesn't want to load right now. So,
well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you go and deal with that. AD, thanks for coming out. Everybody out in chat, thanks for coming. We're going to go ahead and end the live show, and we'll see you next month for this show. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.